I ask myself, would you be happy if you gave this up? And the answer is always no. We shut down all 5 stores, and within a week, all of us were so much happier.
Hey everyone, this interview was epic. Can't wait for you to listen to it. Tami is so good at building a business around your existing values and principles instead of just chasing money, and it has served her so well. The other thing that shocked me about RubySnap is the volume that they do with only one physical location. Their retail sales make them a lot, but they're starting to make more and more from another side of the business, which is manufacturing. And we talk about that quite a bit during the episode. So if you're interested in that side of things, lots of tips from Tami in here. Let's get into it.
I was born in Arizona. I grew up in Saudi Arabia, and I landed in Utah. My answer usually is college, but it actually was something different than college. But yes, college is why I stayed in Utah.
I see.
And I love Utah geography. I think it's amazing. And I've been here now more of my life than I've been anywhere else. So I'm an official Utahn.
All right. And I mean, you have a staple business here, so I think that elevates you even a little bit more.
Which I love, by the way. We're in our 17th year.
Yes, I was saying you're coming on 20 years. It's very exciting. So rumor has it that you liquidated your 401k to start a cookie company during the 2008 financial crisis.
Yes, I had an IRA that had $10,000 in it. And during that time in my life, I was watching all of my savings just go out the window. And I said to myself, if I'm going to lose all my money, I'm at least going to bank on myself. And so I cashed it all out, and I found the building next door. The building next door, I was an architectural designer, so I was around the city a lot, and I field measured a lot of buildings. So I was always driving the streets. But I remembered this particular building in my head, and I was like, I'm going to drive around until I find that building. And I found the building, and it was in kind of a rundown, scary ghetto neighborhood. And I was peering in the window, and the neighbor, who at the time was the owner of Zion's Upholstery, came out and said, would you like to rent that building? And I was like, oh, no, I'm just daydreaming. And he started asking me questions, and he talked me out of my telephone number and gave it to my landlord, who called me and said, I heard that you want to rent my building. And I'm like, oh no, I'm just daydreaming. And he goes, well, tell me about your dreams. Somebody help me out with my dreams, and maybe I can help you out with yours. And so I told him my story, and he said, why don't you come down and meet me? So I came and met him, and that's how the story begins. He helped me get a leg up in the world, and he gave me the building at an affordable price, and I've been here ever since.
So cool. So this was like 2008, like everything had just crashed, and you signed the lease.
I did not sign a lease.
Okay.
I do not have a lease. I still don't have a lease. Wow. It is just on a handshake, and he's just a good old cowboy, just a do-gooder who likes to help people. And he said, if you need a lease, that means you can't trust me. And if you can't trust me, then I can't trust you. And I said, no, sir. And I shook his hand, and I've been his tenant ever since.
Wow. I bet he loves you.
I love him.
Very
For sure.
Cool. So what prompted these dreams? You're working in architectural design. How do you make the jump to cookies?
So during that period of time, I was a really avid cyclist. I live in Mill Creek, which is close to all of these canyons, Immigration, Mill Creek, Big Cottonwood, Little Cottonwood. And I had entered a triathlon and realized I was super good at cycling. So shortly after that, I entered a century ride, which is 100 miles. And I thought, if I drop out at 30 miles, great. At least I showed up and tried. Well, I did the whole 100 miles in 7 hours. And I was like, okay, maybe I'm good at this. And I just started doing that. And I did that for years upon years until I was hit by a car. And that kind of ended that career for me. But so I would eat really clean to train. And then when it was my free day, I wanted something that was worth my time and calories and all those awesome workouts. And so there was nothing out there that I felt was worth my time and money. And I would go to bakeries and I would purchase a treat, and I called it Sweet Zero because it was sweet, but it tasted like zero. And I just would be kind of mad. So I started designing my own recipes, which happened to be cookies. And I love snacking on like nuts and dried fruits. And I also really value flavor delivery. And I also value clean ingredients. And so I just started building things that I thought had the wow factor and that were impressive to me. And then as I started to build those talents, I would share them with neighbors and friends and coworkers. And in 2006, I went to Bali and just discovered the most beautiful vanilla bean plantations. And I brought home 22 kilos of vanilla beans because I was just infatuated. And so that like kind of just started just my love of like really appreciating ingredients and farms and farmers. And then I took my daughter back to Bali in 2008. This would have been March of 2008. We were doing a service project because we lived in a nice neighborhood where people had a lot of money and we were the family that didn't. And so I just wanted her, I grew up in a third world country and I wanted her to understand what a third world country looks and feels like, and to understand that we all breathe the same. We all require the same bodily organs to live and function, and we all have the same basic human needs. And she wasn't a bad child. I just wanted her to have this exposure because I had the privilege of having that exposure growing up. And so she had to earn all of her own money to get there, which at the time was about $2,700, which was a lot for a 16-year-old girl. And so I said, look, I make awesome cookies. I will make cookies. We can sell them. If you sell them, I'll make them. And the first week she sold 220 dozen. And I'm like, oh my goodness. So I found a business that was going out of business, and I bought their commercial mixer and their commercial freezer and I think a refrigerator. And I got to making 220 dozen pre-portioned frozen cookie dough, and that's how we sold it. And we kind of created like a Girl Scout menu where you could pick your flavor and we would deliver it. Well, people purchased it and she earned all her money, but they shared it with their friends and neighbors and bosses and friends. And they're like, how do we buy more? And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm not even a business. And I had called my fake pretend fundraising business Dough, DOUH, Nation. And it went so well. That's when I got in my car and started driving around looking for this building. Like, maybe I need to make something out of this.
And you put all that commercial equipment in your house?
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. And so I drove around, found the building because I thought, okay, this could be a possibility. Maybe this is my next move. And I believe firmly that when you work all day, every day, you should do what you love. And I loved what I was doing until I didn't love it anymore. And I feel like the crash made it difficult to love my career because it was really difficult to earn a living at that time. And so I thought, if I'm not making money, I might as well like transition into something that maybe I could really, really love. And so I just took the chance, found the building, cashed out my $10,000. And because I had the skills, I could drop my own plans. I could pass them through the city. And then I did all my own sweat equity because I didn't have to do any structural changes to the building, mostly cosmetic and getting rid of like yucky cottage cheese ceilings and stuff like that. But
Got it.
And what you see today is pretty much what we started with, like exactly the same counters and everything. So
Wow.
That's how I landed in cookies because I realized that people actually liked what I did. They liked my recipes. And when we opened, which was February of 2008, so I secured the building before we left to Bali. And when I came back, I was like, oh my gosh, what have I done? And I was so petrified. I was almost paralyzed. And I didn't do anything for like 2 months. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. I have got to get this building going. And so, I set about to like get it all ready and open to the public. And Sterling Paulson was a reporter at the time during this bad economy, and he came in and did an interview and about businesses that start in bad economies. And that just sort of put us on the map locally. So we lived loan-free, debt-free, clear up until probably mostly this year. We took out our very, very first business loan to help years in. Grow. Yeah.
Love it.
So that's how amazing. I got into it.
Yeah.
Loaded question.
what an interesting like confluence of factors though. And the advantage you had with like this, you could stretch that $10,000 so far because you knew how to get permits through the city. You knew what you wanted. You didn't have to redo it a million times.
I also knew what to look for. Like I looked for the basics. Like they had all the plumbing in the right places. I didn't really have to do any. I think when you have no money, you become very clever and you're a little bit smarter.
Yeah.
Because you have to do with what you have.
Do you remember what you spent the $10,000 on?
Mostly like drywall.
Okay.
Because I had to tear down a lot of wood paneling and the flooring. I stripped the floors and it's just cement floors. But drywall was probably the biggest expense and some equipment.
So you probably ran through that $10,000 very quickly. You said you had 2 months where you were like, oh, I'm not really doing much. So was it 2 months of kind of analysis paralysis, then the build out, and then you officially opened in like end of summer, or what was the timeline?
Actually, I didn't open until December of that year. And it took me that long because I was working as a designer and I would work, close a job, use that money, run over and like fix something. And, so I it was like earn, fix, earn, fix, earn, fix.
Wow.
So it took me a little bit longer, but it was good.
Okay. And you're just paying the landlord every month at that point, making sure that you have the rent.
Well, he gave me the first 3 months for free. So that's why waffling for those first few months was a bad idea. But I just was sort of stunned at like just making this decision. And I did quit my job to do it. And so I was freelancing as a designer for some accounts that I had previously worked with who still wanted to work with me. And so he allowed me to continue to have free rent until I opened. I mean, so cool. He's just amazing that way.
Yeah.
And he has just been a huge gift to me.
So cool. And those commercial spaces can be hard to fill sometimes. So it makes sense to give some concessions to get a great tenant in as well, I'm sure.
Yeah. And this was an underdeveloped, not even an up-and-coming neighborhood yet.
Yeah.
And so everybody thought I was crazy. And I'm like, it's okay if I'm crazy. Like, I can go back to my career if I want to.
Something that really sets RubySnap apart is its branding, the names of the cookies, and obviously the design of, we're in the, what would you call this, corporate HQ?
Yep.
And next door is the actual bakery. But it's just, the vibe is unmistakable. It's like, okay, this is RubySnap. We got the red, we got the tones. How did you come up with that, and what was the inspiration behind it?
The inspiration, so our original name was Dough Girl, and we were commandeered to surrender that trademark to another company. But the Dough Girl theme developed from the women air service pilots. So you can see that photo over there were female flyers in World War II. In World War I, the male air service pilots were nicknamed the Doughboys. And I recently was actually designing a donut recipe, and I learned that nickname came from donuts
Okay.
because they, I think it was, I can't remember who, they would go and serve donuts to the servicemen to let them feel like they had a piece of home. And so that's how they got the nickname Doughboys. And then in World War II, they were nicknamed the Doughgirls. And I was just a World War II appreciator because I felt like it was a special time in history where we all came together to do a good thing on behalf of the world. And so I named the bakery Doughgirl. And there are subtleties all around the bakery of that era. You've got the metal counters, the cement floors.
Yeah.
You have nose art from the airplanes. There are little airplanes. There's propellers around. And if you're paying attention, you'll catch it. But otherwise, you won't. It's just a very modern version of my interpretation.
Love it.
And the idea is to just be genuine, have genuine recipes, stay true to myself and not deviate for trends or fads or not cheapify my recipes just for the sake of profit and revenue. And I know that's counterintuitive for the business world that we live in, but I wanted to always have the wow factor in those recipes. I wanted to just be the better place in the world where you come in and you feel different, you feel better, you feel like, this is cool. I love what I just bought. The people serving me are so nice. Like just that you could walk out maybe feeling better than the moment that you walked in. And we've really held tightly to those principles. And we do it sometimes at a sacrifice, but we just don't ever want to compromise on being the best version of ourselves.
Yeah, I love that. The business is really like an extension of you. Like I read somewhere you don't make cookies that you don't like personally.
Right. And so long as my name is attached to this company, it's always going to be the best that I can offer.
So talk to me about those early years. Were you shocked at how much money you could make baking cookies? Let's see, 2009 would have been like your first full year in business, or was it a struggle for a few years?
I mean, it's like any business. It takes 3 to 5 years really to like launch and just get into your revenue groove. But when I first opened in 2008, I think we made about $150 a day, which was working, and then before you knew it, it was $300 a day. And then it was, $1,500 and then $3,000. And then, it just kept growing. The more that two people told two people, it was really a word of mouth business, really. And I think if you make people happy that they came, that they went to an out of the way location and bought an expensive cookie, but they were so happy to have it and they were happy with the product they received, they're going to do the marketing for you. Yeah. And so we were just always on the upside. We were always on a trajectory. And in fact, we were on a trajectory all the way to 2020. The only time we've ever struggled is those 4 years following COVID.
Got it. And there was something in 2018 where you tried to expand, right? Like you opened a few other bakeries. Tell us that story.
So it goes back to being true to yourself, being honest with yourself, and be truthful about a genuine pursuit. And we tried to open some stores similar to Starbucks, these little miniature stores. And I didn't love it. I felt like I was living on an airplane and I was suddenly working 7 days a week, 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. and traveling, training, and just getting, I think we accumulated maybe 75 employees. And I just thought, this isn't my dream. My dream is recipe development. My dream is just really getting to know people more on a one-to-one level. And I just, even my management team, who was very supportive and they were traveling on the road with me, they didn't love it. So all of our happiness level just kind of dropped. And, you know, I feel, again, really strongly about if I'm going to give my heart and soul to something 8 to 10 hours a day, then I want my happiness level to be way up here. And because it had dropped, I was like, yeah, I'm done. Within a 2-week period, it was right before they announced COVID, we shut down all 5 stores. And within a week, all of us were so much happier.
Wow.
And so we just decided, let's only do the things that make us happy and that also protect the company. You know, we want to protect the company and grow in ways where we can also maintain happiness. And that just, you know, you have to try things to know that you don't like them. And it's okay if you don't like them. It's okay if you fail at them. You just try the next thing. So,
yeah. I always say the point of getting into business yourself is to run it exactly how you want to. It's literally the whole point.
yes,
So why
it's
are
literally the whole point. And I do kind of have those checkpoints where I'm like, wait, this isn't what I want to be doing. So let's like, you know, turn the wheel a little bit and get back on track. So
Where were these micro locations that you opened?
we had 2 in Las Vegas.
Oh, wow.
And we had 1 in Park City, Daybreak, and Lehigh.
Okay. And they all opened like within a few months of each other?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Boom, boom, boom.
Wow.
Yeah.
And they were like in malls? Like how big was the retail space?
They were actually inside of Smith's grocery stores.
Okay.
And so it just isn't, it didn't yield the RubySnap experience that we could give you in this walk-in bakery.
Yeah.
And we've never ruled out the idea of opening more bakeries. We just have never submitted to the idea of franchising because I think that kind of has a tendency to degrade your product. But we have never ruled out the possibility of opening more brick and mortar. Yeah. We just want to do it the way we want to do it.
Yeah.
But we're happy. We're also happy. We're small, we're mighty. We're not rich and famous, but we're all really happy.
Yeah.
And we can do very big things. We have done very big things that people don't even know about, you know. So, for example, we had 1 order for 4,000 dozen in a single order that we ship nationwide. We have huge capabilities that people don't even understand. So sometimes if somebody walks through the door and they're like, I have a really big order, it's like 4 dozen, do you think you can do it? And we were like, yeah, we could do that within give us 30 minutes and we'll get that all put together. We could even bake it fresh for you. But if somebody calls and says, you know, this is kind of lofty, but could you do 2,000 dozen? We're like, yep, absolutely. So, but we are certified to be a private label manufacturer, so we can manufacture for other people in their label for them.
Very cool.
And so that was one way we could grow without compromising who we are.
And are those like online stores that you sell through?
It could be whoever wants us to produce product for them.
But those are those big orders.
A dream client would be Trader Joe's.
Okay.
So anybody who would want us to produce, say, a pre-portioned frozen cookie dough for them, we can do it.
Very cool. Trader Joe's, if you're listening.
Trader Joe's, if you're listening, please call us.
I love it. Do you remember any cookie-specific bakeries around the time when you opened?
I don't. I remembered I remembered Mrs. Fields when they first started, and they were really good. And you could walk through a mall, and their fresh cookies would be wafting all over the mall. But I don't remember any other bakery. My parents thought I was crazy. They're like, it'll never work. And then, of course, 10, 12 years later, my dad would say, it's never going to work, because he was just teasing, you know. But yeah, it worked great. I think a lot of even people who know how to cook and can do it at home, sometimes you don't want to. You just want to go get a good cookie.
Yeah.
And we've worked really hard to keep all of our ingredient deck really super duper clean. So we find people who can create products to our standards. And one of The hardest products we've ever had to shop for is peanut butter. It's just getting a high quality, creamy, super tasty, all natural peanut butter. And the reason I say that is just because I feel like I felt like an ingredient hunter trying to find the best peanut butter, and just like really working hard to keep all of our cookies clean. And we only have one cookie that isn't clean, and that is our red velvet cookie, which will be changing very soon.
Oh, nice.
We tried at one point to do a purple velvet. It was an ube cookie, and it was really cool and fun, but it's hard to consistently get ube sourced. So that was going to be our permanent replacement, but we just weren't able to like consistently get purple yams. So
Purple yam cookies sound amazing.
they are good, actually. So I don't know if you've ever had
kidding
our
at all.
Yeah.
And knowing you guys, it was amazing. I'm sad I didn't try it. So what did you think when all these cookie franchises started popping up mid 2010s?
My initial thought was, okay, I think in Utah, we're exceptional benchmarkers. Like, we are a state of entrepreneurs, and we see a good idea and we want to jump on the bandwagon. And I thought, wow, I don't think I thought it would take so long for more people to pop up, because we were in business 11 years before any of these companies started popping up.
Yeah.
And I think a few of them had really great products. I've never tried any of them. I think that's my way of staying true to myself.
Nice.
Because I really don't want to be influenced. I really don't want to be a copycatter.
Yeah.
And I felt like some of them garnered a lot of inspiration from us, because we would create something and then maybe a week later you would see that almost exact same cookie pop up somewhere else. But I think some of these companies had great products, and some of them were just a revenue generating business model, and it was just for business only. And so, but that's what's good about free market, is free market makes you a better version of yourself. If you want to stay in the game, then you're like, great, game on. I'm going to create a better product than you.
Yeah.
And I will always create a better product than you.
In fact,
I may not be as big as you,
Yeah.
but I will always have a better product than you.
Yeah. And you had a 10-year head start of making that amazing product.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, and I was content. I didn't feel threatened. I just felt sad that maybe people now were going to be eating lesser quality, because now a store is one block away from them, whereas originally people would come far and wide. Like, I'm driving from St. George. I'm driving from Logan. Like, I'm flying in from North Carolina. Like, I've had so many people, like, one of our best clients flew in from London, and, I met a girl who lived near the Canadian border in High, Montana. And it was just so fun to meet these people coming through the door, because they would announce that they were coming, and we would have a chalkboard and we'd be like, welcome, welcome, Ruth Ann McGee from London,
Love it.
So
I love what you said about not ever trying their cookies, not letting it influence you, because it's not the game. You're not playing the same game as them.
Right.
You're trying to have the most fun, stay true to yourself, and make awesome cookies.
Yeah. And I'm trying to let inspiration come to me instead of like falsely creating something that doesn't feel genuine. So, for example, I was eating, I'll give you a couple of examples.
Sure.
But I was eating the butter cake at Sol Agave, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to make a butter cake cookie. And but I was eating in Bali. I like to travel to Bali for vanilla beans. And I was eating one of my favorite dishes called nasi campur, which is tempeh and sambals. But for some reason, that inspired me to make the coconut carrot cookie.
Okay.
It's coconut carrot and curry. And it has nothing to do with that sambal or that dish, but it was my inspiration. And on a different trip, I was taking a cooking class where we went to the gardens and we harvested all of our own ingredients, but we were making a black rice lemongrass like pudding, like a porridge. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this would be an amazing cookie. So we have a black rice lemongrass cookie. And so I let things inspire me spontaneously. Sometimes like I dream about recipes in my sleep when I'm all relaxed and calm. And so I just let them come to me. And right now I'm in a phase where I have more ideas and I can't even like get them on paper fast enough, and I can't even experiment fast enough. And then I get a little overwhelmed, like, which one do I start first, And so we have a lot of cookies that we've introduced that come and go. They're just a special for that moment in time.
Yeah. And that's fun for you.
It's fun. It's what I live for, is the recipe development, which is why I started a personal food blog. So I have more and more and more excuses to create recipes.
Love it.
Yeah, it's where I'm fixated.
Nice. I love that. Talk to me about how you guys survived COVID, because you said, thriving for about 15 years and then this Black Swan event happens. What did you do differently, and were you tearing your hair out? Did you find your zen relatively quickly?
I think we found our zen really quickly. And probably one of the best things that we did was close those stores before we learned about COVID, because that helped us be in a position of strength. And also because we are a manufacturer and we supply goods to grocery stores, we were able to keep our doors open. And previous to COVID, we had just launched delivery.
Nice.
And so we added to that curbside pickup so people could just scan a QR code, place their order. We would have their order ready at the curbside. So we would just we set up a tent and we had masks, and we would have their order all shrink wrapped. All they had to do was pull up to the curb. We would hand it through the window and they'd drive away. And then we also did deliveries so people could order online and we would deliver to their doorstep, and it would be all shrink wrapped and sealed and safe. And it just all was very fluid. And so we didn't lose revenue. It didn't hurt us. We just didn't grow. Whereas in previous years, we were growing, 20 to 40% every single year over year. And so, but as time went on, 2021, 22, 23, every year cost of goods got more and more expensive, even still today. Cost of goods just rises faster than you could even track it. And so we've worked really hard at keeping our cookies at a fair price, which means our margins are way smaller than historically, and our revenue is a lot lower than historical. Okay. But we're just kind of waiting until that happy spot in time where we feel like we can raise our prices without shock and awe, I guess, and it's okay. It's like a patience game. It's just we want people to enjoy our product and be able to afford it. And where technically we should probably be charging more, but it's okay. We're in a place that is comfortable for us. Yeah. And we have other ways of growing besides just raising prices over the counter.
Nice. And that's the manufacturing side of things.
Yeah, the manufacturing side is a good supplement. Like up until now, our bakery has been our main revenue source. And we enjoy a lot of success. I've done market studies on these other cookie companies, and the amount of revenue that they bring through the door on a daily basis is shocking. I'm like, I don't even know how they stay open, because we are probably easily, 6x what they bring in on a daily basis. And it's still the overhead for doing business is neck and neck with our revenue. And so I'm like, I don't even know how they stay in business.
it really seems like you were a prophet when it came to COVID. Like you saw everything that was going to happen, although you didn't see it, but you were ready. Like you pulled out of the stores, you had the manufacturing, you just launched delivery.
Mm-hmm.
Were these just things that were like a natural progression, or?
They were things that were on our radar that we wanted to do and implement anyway, and it just happened to be the right timing. But I've also always tried to put away like 25% of our revenue into a savings so that we had a backup plan. And so we were able to draw from our savings too in times of lean.
Mm-hmm.
And
talk to me about employees. One of the biggest challenges facing food businesses, particular today, is paying enough to retain people long term, creating an environment where they want to stay long term. What have you done to help with that?
Well, we have always paid, well, in the beginning, we always paid well above minimum wage, and we've always tried to stay a little bit ahead of that curve. And, you know, it's painful today. The cost of groceries is just painful. And just the cost of living is very painful. So we try to do our best to offer like a great base pay plus tips. And tips usually have been really phenomenal. We've noticed that because the economy is difficult, that people are tipping less. And so that means our employees are starting to enjoy less income than they've been accustomed to. So we are internally trying to figure out like how to adjust for that, so that because we have enjoyed long-term employment by our average employee, like I could say we have at least 6 employees who've been here almost the entire 17 years. We have probably another 5 that have been here at least 10 years. Wow. And then the balance of the employees tend to stay about 3 to 5 years because they're usually either in like college education or marrying years, and so there's some life experience that might take them away to a different state, or they're graduating into their career now. But we do enjoy long-term employment from most of our employees, but we work really hard behind the scenes at open communication and making sure that we understand each other really well, so there's not any miscommunication. And we try to be as competitive as possible. And we feel like we are competitive. I know that a lot of times we've had employees leave and they're like, oh man, you know, I thought $17 an hour at that job was so much better, but actually I ended up making less. So is there a way I could come back? And we do hire people back. We've hired maybe 5 different people back. But you don't get a third chance. You get a second chance because you know.
Yeah, that's fair. To me, it seems like the branding, like there's something unspoken about the branding that would make me want to stay longer with you. Like it's like there's this company has a soul instead of, you know, corporate overhead lights that make me feel like I have anxiety all day. I get to work in this environment where I'm actually enjoying myself. Have you noticed that?
Well, I feel like I've always had a personal motto that small business gives your city soul. And like every time I travel to another city, I am searching out that small, unique, one-off business. Yeah. I'm never going to a chain. I always want to go to the coolest little restaurant, you know, like the one and only Italian place, the one and only pizza place, the one and only whatever it is, the one and only sushi bar that only that city has, that they're famous for. And that's what I want to be to Utah, is like when people travel here, they're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to Utah. I get to go to RubySnap because we give our city soul. We are not in every city in America. And again, I wouldn't rule out being in another city, but I just want to protect that vibe of just being the cool place, you know?
Yeah, it's so cool. And I really just feel like there's something there where it helps retain the employees as well because they feel like they're part of something that's worth being a part of.
I feel my goal is for them to be seen and heard and to know that we actually care about them. And I call it family style.
Cool.
Like in terms of, we care about you the way that we care about our own family at home. And so, sometimes we'll have uncomfortable moments that we have to talk through, but at least we're talking through it. And there's no corporate handbook that says, I can't talk to you because, paragraph 5, section C says that I have to do it this way.
Yeah. Have there been any moments of like, I don't think this is going to work out with RubySnap?
There's only one that I can think of, and we try to hire people based on the idea that if we were stranded on a desert island together, would we want to be with them? Because if you're going to be with your coworkers 6 to 8 hours a day, but you only get to see your family 4 hours at night over dinner and getting ready for bed, like, don't you want to love the people you work with? So we work really hard at hiring people that we are going to want to work with every day, all day. And so we ask them, are you genuinely happy? Because we can't teach you happiness, but we can teach you everything else. And so we did hire on one individual who immediately within 3 days, we knew it wasn't going to work. And it was kind of awkward for us because we did let this individual go. And we just said, we don't think it's going to work out, because you can't let drama through the door, or else that one bad seed is just going to taint
it's like a cancer.
The rest of the team. And so, we made the decision to say, sorry, we vote you off the island.
Love it. Survivor, RubySnap style.
Yep.
And what about you personally? Have you felt backed up against a wall financially, emotionally with the business? Like, was there a dark moment where you didn't think you could keep running the business?
There have been a few of those moments, but then I ask myself, is there something else that you would rather be doing more? Or are you willing to give this up? Like, would you be happy if you gave this up? And the answer is always no. The answer is, I don't want to walk away from this. I do love this. And I think that's just part of choosing to be a business owner, is every once in a while, there's going to be dark moments or dark places. But the best remedy ever is whining never fixed anything, but action does. So create your action plan and just follow through on it. Show up every day, be consistent every day, do one important thing every single day, and it will always work out. It has never not worked out. It always works out because I show up every day and I do something important that I know will benefit the company. And if I'm doing an activity, I ask myself, is this actually benefiting the company? Is this creating positive forward momentum? If it isn't, I'm doing the wrong task. Stop and do the right thing. And I think that's what being a business owner is, being a leader is just consistently choosing to actively do the right thing. And the only thing you can do from there is go forward. So if you're not going forward, you're going backwards. So I just make sure that I prioritize every action step, every thought, and not deviate.
You mentioned your daughter. Do you have other kids, or has your daughter worked in RubySnap?
Yes, I tried to take every daughter on a service project at least once.
Nice.
Some of them got to go twice. I have 5 daughters, 2 sons.
Wow.
And let's see, every child except 2 has worked in the business. And I know that this is my dream, and I don't expect it to be their dream, but it was a means for them to work if they were in high school or college. And if they didn't want to, that was okay. That's their prerogative, and they could go chase their dreams. Like, my dream doesn't have to be your dream.
You mentioned that largely you've grown through word of mouth. Sounds like some media attention as well early on. have you done any marketing? Like when did you come up with a marketing strategy and what does it look like today?
Okay. This is the thing that baffles everybody. We do zero marketing.
Yeah.
We think our marketing is our product. Our marketing is word of mouth. We do social media. That's about the extent of our marketing. We do attend trade shows so we could get exposure. We donate heavily to the community, and that helps with marketing. That's not why we donate, but the reason why we donate originally was so we didn't have food waste. And then as we got to know our community better, we realized that there is just this genuine yoking of community giving and receiving. Like, it's just good karma. Is about the best way I could put it. Is we realized that there's this huge value in sharing end of day goods with people who maybe need a brighter spot in their day, whether they're sitting in a hospital bed at Shriners or Primary Children's, or if they're in Ronald McDonald House, or they're in drug rehab, or wherever they're at, if they could just have like just a little bit of a brighter moment with donations, that kind of, then word gets out. Did you hear like RubySnap did this for blah, 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 blah. And then they tell their friends and neighbors, and their friends and neighbors come, or, that was really special. Like, my child just looked forward to that cookie every single week. And so because they felt good about it, maybe they would tell their friends. And so we've just really relied on the good nature of our product and the way that we serve people as our marketing tool. We don't have a marketing budget. Because every time that we would look into like a marketing budget, it was like $50,000 a month. And I'm like, yeah, I don't have that discretionary money. So we're just going to be the best, and hopefully people will share.
Yeah, you're different. Marketing is about different. And you've had that from day one. You feel it when you walk in the store, like you said. What advice would you have for a business owner in Utah specifically that's looking to make their dream come true like you did?
My number one advice is actually love it. If you are only chasing it just for money alone, you might not succeed, because it will be the hardest thing that you ever do in all of your life. And you have to give it your all and dedicate your all. And you're balancing a lot. You're balancing family versus business versus employees, because we have 27 employees, so nurturing all of those people is a big deal. And it takes a lot of care and keeping and time and energy and secret moments that nobody will ever see. Like, nobody ever sees how hard you actually work behind the scenes. I think, sometimes there's a perception that you're just out lollygagging. And but if you love your vision, if you love it, you're going to be able to succeed. And they say, some people will tell you passion is not a business model, but it is. And then from there, you take basic business principles and you start applying them to your passion. And yes, there are, formulas and methodologies and proven methods that make a business work. Yes, you do have to follow those, and you do have to put pen to paper, and you do have to build a business plan, and you should have a 5-year plan ahead of you at all times. At any given time, you should always have a 5-year plan, and you should always know the steps that will get you to that plan. But if you don't have the passion to back up the plan, it's just going to be difficult, and you might give up.
And what's your personal favorite RubySnap cookie?
I'm going to say Isabella. It is a pumpkin hazelnut dough that has raisins that we soak in a hazelnut liqueur for a year, and they caramelize, and that goes into the dough. And when the dough dough bakes, it percolates and it creates this very like lightweight cakey cookie that we top off with a frangelico mascarpone, which is mascarpone cream that has a hazelnut liqueur in it. I have to say that that cookie baked fresh with the cold frosting on it is a lifetime experience. And every time we have a brand new employee, when that month comes, they have to have a hot Isabella with cold frosting on it. It's almost like an initiation. That is probably my number one. In my top 5, I would include the rosy cookie, which is a rose petal cookie with a rose water glaze on it. And then it has a little rosebud in the center. And that is a cookie that is not for everyone, but it's one that I truly love. One of my favorite originals is Viviana, which is the mangoes and dark chocolate in like a citrus bergamot dough. And I still love that cookie. In fact, all of the cookies originally were created for my taste buds and my belly. But I'm so busy administrating. What I say to the bakery is, you take care of the present and I will take care of the future. So I'm always so busy taking care of the future that I forget to walk over to the bakery and grab a cookie. And yesterday I had a Frida cookie for the very first time in probably 12 years. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is so good. And so every once in a while, I'm just like, wow, these are so good, because I forget to stop and eat my own cookies, because I'm worried about the next cookie that I'm going to create, that I forget to eat something that I've already created,
Yeah, love that. And by the way, the first one you mentioned, which month does that come out? Because I definitely need to try.
Isabella is in November.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's a
And
long time
one,
to wait.
like in the early days, like Josephine, which is the coffee Kahlua tiramisu, I just thought that I was the coolest thing that ever hit the face of the planet for creating that cookie. It's not that it's so original, but to me at that time it was super duper original. And it's just a fun cookie. It's made out of, it's a coffee Kahlua.
So you said that you let your employees take care of the present and you take care of the future.
Mm-hmm.
What's next for RubySnap?
Trader Joe's, of course.
Because of this podcast.
That's right. I want to pursue people that I can private label manufacture for, because that will give me opportunities also to create new flavor profiles and without compromising integrity, and I can package it for them in their brand labeling. That is kind of where my heart is right at the moment. And our bakery will never, ever cease to be what it is. And that will still be a platform for introducing new flavor profiles and new recipes. And then I can grow our company revenue-wise by doing the private label manufacturing. Just because I think growing brick and mortar, you can't keep the quality care and keeping. The more brick and mortars you have, you can't have that. We have really high quality customer service, and I don't know how much you can replicate that once you get X number of brick and mortars.
Yeah.
But you can always replicate it when you have that one unique craft bakery. And so I get to preserve my first love while growing the next version without compromising anything.
Yeah, it's so cool because those bulk orders, just so much more profit and less overhead that goes into something like that.
There's less people involved and higher production. And it just feels, I kind of geek out over manufacturing anyway. I love to tour manufacturing plants wherever possible.
Nice.
I also love touring farms. So any farmers listening, invite me and I will come see your farm. Because I think farmers are the backbone of our whole food supply system, and they are the secret heroes behind everything that we get to enjoy. Anything that we put in our mouth came from a farmer. So, yeah.
So cool. Why don't we just give us a little sales pitch we can put online for RubySnap. Why is RubySnap the best bakery in Utah?
Because we create cookies in unique flavor combinations and we keep our ingredients wholesome and clean. We say we never have any yucky stuff.
Love it. And it's a vibe.
It's a vibe, and real ingredients taste really good.
Love that. Thank you so much for coming on, Tami. This was
Thank
awesome.
you for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Utahpreneur. Before you click off, 3 quick things that I promise are quick. Number 1, follow us wherever you get your social media, and also join the Facebook group that I mentioned earlier in this episode. Number 2, if you enjoyed this episode, share it with a friend. That's all I ask. And number 3, if you love supporting Utah's independent businesses, do not miss last week's episode with Salt Lake Running Company. Just like RubySnap, they've been a local icon, but for double the time of RubySnap, 30 years. And they have built a loyal following and have a ton of hard-won business lessons. So check that one out. We'll see you there.